Hello everybody, Road Warrior 627 here, and welcome to my second racing preview of the year. Today we look at the absolutely lackluster Pegasus World Cup. It's the 12th race at Gulfstream on January 25th, and Omaha Beach and Spun to Run are both gone, the two favorites. Well, to be honest, those two horses really didn't make the race much better. In fact, I almost think it's better now because it's a more wide open board than it was. Those two were going to be probably bet out of their minds because of Omaha Beach's success and Spun to Run's Breeders' Cup win. So it makes things a little bit more interesting, even though sort of a good but they're nowhere near great horse is going to win a $3 million race, one of the biggest purses we have all year here in America. So that's funny, but let's skip the funniness and get right to the analysis. We'll look at the field in post position order. Post time, by the way, is 5:34 Eastern Standard Time. That means that it'll probably go off around 5:50 because Gulfstream, as everyone knows, cannot run their programs on time any day at all. The number one is True Timber for Karen McLaughlin. He loves to run in the Cigar Mile. That's where he shows up with his best efforts, and he ran a pretty good figure last time of 101. He comes from off the pace. Chances are it'll work for him this time. Now, he has a couple of races, the Bold Ruler at Belmont and the Kelso, which is also at Belmont, both of those in the fall, where he was a little bit closer to the pace and still wound up finishing third. But he has the ability to lay further off, and I think that'll help him in here because the pace should be pretty quick. Timeform US had it quick, and there are some horses in here, not many, but there are some who actually like to blaze it out on the lead, one of which will be the last horse we talk about in this analysis. Number 2 is Tax for Danny Gargan. Jose Ortiz is going to take the place of his brother on this horse. Since the Derby, he's been doing nothing but ticking up the Beyer scale. That's good. He lost his last race, but he lost it to a pretty good horse in Shug McGahee's Performer. I think he'll run well in this race, too, as he turns from 3 to 4. Number 3 is Diamond Dupes. He's a bit of a long shot. He ran huge last time out, but really everything set up for him. He was off the pace, and that pace was fast. 21-4, 43-4, and 108-1. Only positive thing I can see here, he's got a race over the track, and he's got a win over the track, which is very useful when you have a lot of horses coming from out of town. Maybe you put him on your tickets as a C, maybe a B. He's not going to be in my top 4. Number 4 is Seeking the Soul. Pretty cool horse. That has been running for a long time. Just keeps showing up in the big races. He won one race last year, and that was the Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs. That's also where he got his highest figure. He doesn't have the consistency to show that he can put up that kind of number. Now, that 104, while it might seem low for this race, a number like that will absolutely win this race because of the competition we're talking about. It's just not that good. He does get Johnny Velazquez, and Johnny Velazquez is always good, of course, considered my favorite jockey, and Dallas Stewart loves to upset races, but I just don't see it with him. He had a pace to close into last time, and he couldn't get anywhere close. The 6 is Higher Power, California horse. I just think he runs pretty evenly. I think he was way too hyped up after his Pacific Classic win. Now, he ran third in the Awesome again, which was not a good performance. And he ran okay in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Only got a 100 Beyer speed figure. I'm just not enthralled with this horse at all. And at 6-1 on the morning line, he's probably going to be even lower as the money gets redistributed from the two main scratches of Omaha Beach and Spun to Run. Not interested in Higher Power. Number 7 is War Story. War Story is 8 years old. He's been running forever. He's a grinder, and he needs to get just a little bit better to be in contention in this race. Now, last time out, he ran it here at Gulfstream, and he ran pretty well. He got up to win. He closed into a pretty fast pace, 22-4, 46 flat, 110-2. but he did it at a pretty good price. And he also did it a week before Diamond Oops ran his race. And I think the extra time off will definitely be beneficial to him. Also, War Story likes these longer distances. A horse like Diamond Oops, I told you I was throwing him out of my top 4. He's been doing all his running at a mile or less. At least I believe so. Yes, he was. Now, this horse is an all-out router. Always has been. He won the Brooklyn Handicap 2 years ago at a mile and a half. Now, he's on and off. He's pretty inconsistent. But he's got these flashes where he can run a good race. He bombed in the Pacific Classic out in California, but he seems to run pretty good on the East Coast if you throw out his Brooklyn from this year, which I don't know where that came from because he's always ran well in the Brooklyn before. Even the year after he won, he finished second to Opportunity. So the mile and an eighth obviously will be absolutely no problem for him. The problem with him that I have is Luis Saez. Luis Saez rode this horse last time, and he's jumping off War Story to ride Mr. Freeze, the horse just to his outside. Now, Saez, at least over his last 10 starts, had never been on Mr. Freeze. And Saez riding for Dale Romans, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, War Story does pick up Rosario, who's been winning big race after big race, especially last year. He probably should have been a finalist for Eclipse Award-winning jockey. It still worries me a little bit. But I do like where this horse fits in this race, because if he runs a good race, he absolutely has a chance to come in the top 3, and even possibly has a chance to win. He's going to be 30-1 on the morning line. Expect that to go down to the 15, 18-1 range because of the scratches. Still good value in this race, though. I'll elaborate on him a little more later. Number 8 is Mr. Freeze, who I just talked about. He would need to improve as well. He finished 3rd in the Clark Handicap last time out. He was on a pretty much average pace for a mile and an eighth, 47-2, 111, and 4. Just kind of got tired in the end. He was 15-1, which obviously helps him that he finished 3rd at that price. But he's a little bit more consistent than War Story, especially over his last 4 starts. But he doesn't have any race at Gulfstream since last year. When he did run here, he ran pretty poorly. Finished 7th, beaten almost a block. Number 9 was scratched. Number 10 is Mucho Gusto. IRAD is jumping on this horse that Joe Talamo has been on all the time. He decided not to make the trip, or whatever Baffert decided, I don't know. He's going to be the favorite in this race, chances are, and he's going to be a horrible favorite. This horse has the same figures as almost everybody else in this race. I do think, of what I've seen of the video of him, he's the best of the stalkers that you're going to see in here, which is why I have him in my top 4. But I think this horse is going to be very, very overplayed, and he's not going to be any good value. Now, first or second choice have won the first 3 runnings of this race. This horse will more than likely be the first choice, definitely either first or second. I see that streak coming to an end. When's the last time he won? He won last at Santa Anita on June 16th. And he's been a short price in all of his races. No thanks. The 2 horses on the outside, Tenfold and Bodi Express. I said I'd talk about Bodi Express a little bit, but let's go to Tenfold first. He was an okay 3-year-old. And at 4, he just was kind of out of place. He won the Pimlico Special. That's it, on a track that was favoring closers. Not much else to say. Bodi Express to 12. He's going to the front. And he's a nice horse. He was America's darling maiden. But the chances of him holding on in here, I don't like it. Especially because they are probably going to be going pretty fast. I'd say 22-4, 46. And change. So that leads me into my picks, and well, I was kind of down on War Story. I'm still going to pick him. I like War Story because even though Saez jumped off, I like that Rosario's getting on him. I think he's a good jockey for a horse of this style. Rosario likes to make that one run, one continuous run, and as War Story is a grinder, I think that'll certainly help him. And he should be able to time the ride just perfectly to get up. I'm going to take Tax second to hopefully get a pretty decent exacta payout. I was going to put Mucho Gusto second, but why should I when Tax has very similar figures and is improving at the right time? So he's second, 7-2. I'll put Mucho Gusto third just out of respect as being the favorite. I'm not too enthralled with him, though. Of the horses that are going to be near the front, I think he's the best. So that's why I put him third. And then lastly, I have, who's the fourth choice? That would be number 1. And that is True Timber from McLaughlin. Also off the pace horse. Chances are in this one, especially with the early speed. Joe Bravo riding. I love that. Always got to love Joe Bravo in a big race. And should be able to get him up closing too. Just not the same kind of trip that War Story gets. War Story should get a little bit of a better trip as he's a little further to the outside. I'm a little worried that True Timber might be stuck down on the rail for a considerable portion of the race. Now that could help him, but if he doesn't find the seam the right time, that's not good. I also have to share Sammy's picks. I was not able to record this video with him today. Sammy likes higher power. I don't know why, but he wants 6-10-3-2. So that's higher power over Mucho Gusto, over Diamond Oops, over Tax. And then quickly, let's just give out our picks for the Pegasus Turf, which is the race before this, the 11th. Sammy's going 3, 6, 12, and 10. That's a Chad Brown exacta. And I like Arklow for Brad Cox, who's been doing nothing but a great job. And I also liked his win in the fall at Belmont. And one more quickly, we've got what I consider to be the race of the day, which is the Jazil at Aqueduct. Me and Sammy, as you can see, are both going with Sir Winston, the Belmont winner, who ran horribly on the turf last out, but we think he rebounds today on the dirt. He's the second choice on the morning line at the Big A. I almost feel like he'll be the third choice, as I think Stan the Man and Mr. Buff will get played more than him. Because New York horse players tend to look at the last race as their main food for thought. And Sir Winston's last race, even though it was down south and on the grass, was not good. So hopefully he can slip to the third choice and get maybe in that 3-1, 7-2 range. I doubt you'll see him up at 4-1. But hopefully people forget or not care about his Belmont because it was so long ago. Second off the layoff should work well for Sir Winston, also getting back to the dirt. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening to this Pegasus World Cup with a dash of Pegasus Turf and Jazil Stakes preview. You can watch the Pegasus on NBC, I believe, either NBC or NBC Sports, whatever. I'll be watching it on my simulcast feed. And that's it, everybody. I'm not sure when the next video will be. It'll just depend on when I have time. So for now, enjoy the Pegasus, enjoy the card at Aqueduct. Hope you make some money. But remember, pay your bills first. And have a good one.